I play off +2 handicap. Here's 6 things that I see scratch and tour level golfers do that's helping them lower their scores and could help you improve your game. So a big area where scratch golfers stand out is in terms of driver distance. We know if we look at the ShotScope data, they hit it the furthest on average. I think this is something that really shouldn't be overlooked. We see when we're out on tour, the Bryson effect, that distance is really important, and the nearer you can get to the hole, the easier your second shot's going to be. And also, if you hit your driver further, you're going to start hitting every club further. So it means even if you hit to a position where you previously hit a 7 iron from, you probably now hit an 8 or a 9 iron from there if you started hitting it 10, 15, 20 yards longer off the tee. So really for golfers trying to improve, trying to push that scratch handicap and beyond, you really want to work on how far you hit the golf ball, be that through working with a coach and optimizing your swing, getting in the gym and doing some lifting, but also some power and fast movement work, which is going to get you using your fast twitch fibers, because the golf swing is a power move, and actually doing things like jumping and explosive movements can really help in terms of our force production, as well as typical things like lifting weights. But also just having the intent to swing as fast as you can. A lot of us have more speed in the tank than we actually use out on the golf course. So if you were doing 1 practice session a week at the range, really trying to hit it as hard as you can, that would definitely translate to the golf club and give you a few mile an hour more speed. So if you're really dedicated to lowering your scores, I would really put a program in place to work on this winter, hitting the ball further. It's going to help you out in all areas. Because at the end of the day, I can hit worse shots than other women, but I manage to beat them because I have such a distance advantage. So don't overlook distance when you're doing your practice this winter. Now, as well as hitting it further, scratch golfers are also better at pulling out driver. We know we have a huge advantage if we're further down the fairway, and statistically, we only hit 1% more fairways with a 3-wood, so actually giving up that extra distance isn't really worth it in terms of accuracy. I think unless there literally is like a water hazard or a bunker specifically in the distance you're going to hit driver, you should be pulling this club out every time. And really, if you do have to drop back and lay up, you should be doing it with a more accurate club like a hybrid or a long iron, not just dropping down to a 3-wood because it's the next club in your bag. An alternative to this is actually to ditch the 3-wood and go for a mini driver. We're seeing this as a huge trend at the moment, especially on tour, because that mini driver head has much more forgiveness in it. So if you do have to drop down to that, it's going to be way more forgiving than the equivalent 3-wood. We've even seen people like Phil carry 2 drivers out on tour, and there is something to be said for that. You could have one driver that's like your 9-degree set up for your maximum distance, and then another one that's like 12 degrees with a shorter 3-wood shaft in it that's designed just to go like 15 yards shorter than your other driver, but actually because it's got the full big sized head, it's going to be way more forgiving than a 3-wood. So that's definitely an option to look at, especially if you're someone who doesn't really use a 3-wood off the deck. Could we have kind of 2 drivers or a driver and a mini driver, and then move into like a 5 or a 7-wood and use something like that for your approach shots into the green? While you're here, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people watching my channel aren't actually subscribed, and having a bigger subscriber number really helps in terms of what opportunities we get and then what great content we can bring back to you. So please hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, you might as well like this video and drop us a comment about what else you want to see on the channel. So another big way that scratch or low handicap golfers excel out on the golf course is actually by knowing and understanding their own golf swing. And what I mean by that is once they go out on the golf course and they start hitting wayward shots, they're able to self-diagnose why that is and auto-correct, so one bad swing doesn't become 2, 3, 4, 5 and suddenly you've got a really high score. Now obviously you can work with a coach and get good drills and things to do to improve your golf swing, but sometimes you just get out on the golf course and they're really not working, or the feel that you were using just doesn't feel right on that day. We all know this feeling, and it can be really annoying if this happens at the start of the round and you just can't find a way to pull the golf swing back and get your round in order. Now, lots of times this happens because people don't actually understand the root cause of what causes their bad shots. So for me, I really struggle with a snap hook at times, and I know that that's because of a left club path and a really shut club face. My grip can get quite strong, and generally for me, it's the face that's way more out than the path. So actually, sometimes if I get on the course and things just don't feel right and my swing feels aren't working, I know I can just either open the face a little bit of dress or really fan my club face open in my takeaway of my golf swing, and that's going to eliminate those really bad big left misses. Now obviously this isn't a permanent fix or a long-term solution, but it's something that can just help me cope through that day or through certain shots where I really can't afford for a left miss, and it really brings down those big scores and allows me to keep the ball in play for that round at least. Golfers need to stop treating the golf course like the driving range, and what I mean by that is you need to stop trying to hit the same shot out of every situation and every scenario. Now once we're out on the golf course, every single shot we hit is different and it's a different situation, and that means we need to be able to adjust to what's happening with the shot. What's the lie like? What's the wind like? Are we hitting up a slope? Are we hitting down a slope? How does the actual topography of the ground around your ball affect your shot? And I think this is really massively overlooked by higher handicap golfers. It's really easy to just go up and think, oh, I'm working on this drill on the driving range, and then have that swing thought or hit the shot solely thinking about that, rather than thinking about what's going on in each scenario. So in this situation, I've got 3 golf balls that are within 6 foot of each other, but they all require different things for the shot. So this one here is on a downhill slope, so I know this is going to come out firmer, lower, it's going to run more and release more on the green. All that affects what shot I'm going to hit. I'm also going to change my setup relative to the slope and how the ball's lying. I'm going to be more left-sided. It's going to allow me to get down to the back of the golf ball more, because if I don't do this, I'm really likely to thin it or not get all of the golf ball because of how it's lying on the slope. All these little changes are just fine-tuning that's allowing you to get the right club, get a decent strike on the ball, and get the ball near the green no matter what scenario you're in. You might think these two don't look that different at all, but actually this one's on an upslope, which means when I address the golf ball, it's going to add loft to my golf club. The ball's then not going to go as far. So I need to club up more here and accept the golf ball's not going to go as far. Also, I know personally for me, when the ball is like this, it's a bit above my feet and also it's sloping up a hill, I have a tendency to hit that further left. So I'm going to move my aim to the right as well as going up a club to help that chance and probability of me getting this ball on the green. Here, the ball sat down in the rough, so I'm not going to get as much club on the golf ball. There's quite a lot of grass here and I'm going to end up with grass between my club head and the golf ball. So again, I'm going to have to club up for that, especially since it's damp and wet and the ball sat down. Now in another scenario in the rough here, it might be sat up, it might be really dry and wispy, and actually it might be a flyer lie, and I would adjust completely differently and go down a club. So you can see all these little changes and adjustments I'm making constantly every time I get to the golf ball. It's definitely not a case of just pulling out your laser, shooting its 150 and pulling out your 7-iron, because there's so many things that could be influenced in this shot. I've not even got into the wind, the temperature, if there's any moisture in the air. This is purely just looking at the ground conditions around the golf ball. So I think loads of people could improve their golf for just thinking a little bit about the shot more, but also going out and practicing on the golf course and experimenting in different lies and making notes of what those shots do for you. For example, the common advice for people is that if the ball is above your feet, so on higher ground than where your feet are, that the ball will go left. Actually, for me, I know off those lies, I hit it right. But because I've learned that over time and I know that, I can adjust accordingly and make sure my golf ball goes somewhere near where I want it to go. So don't treat the golf course like the driving range. Learn how to hit out variety, different lies, different shots, because at the end of the day, it's basically only our tee shots where we're hitting off a flat lie. And even then, sometimes the tees aren't really that flat, are they? Scratch golfers only hole 49% of putts between 6 and 9 feet. So if we want to be getting up and down, saving par, or getting close on par 5s and making birdies, we really need to know how far our wedges go and also have different wedge shots or some sort of wedge system so we can hit all our wedges different yardages. It's no good just having one stock shot that your 54 goes 100 yards, for example. We need to really have all the gaps covered, so when we get near the green, we have loads of options with all our wedges to hit different distance and different trajectory of shots to give us the chance of getting close. Our wedges really are our scoring clubs, and they're basically the only time we kind of have a chance of getting the ball near the hole. So if you don't know your yardages and you've not got a shot matrix of different pitch shots, you're really missing out in this area. Now, there's loads of different ways we can do this. Some people like to use a clock system and have different positions in their swing, which means for each club you can kind of have 6 different distances. Some other people prefer to do it with speed or feel, or just 1 or 2 positions that they know they can hit, or alternatively you can just work to distances. So a really good game I like to do on the range is just hitting pitch shots at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 and 110 yards. And I just develop a different feel for each club that I know will go that distance. Having the ability to hit all those yardages is so good, because when you get on the golf course, it's really simple to just shoot the pin, work out the play-in yardage of that shot, and then hit the shot. I really worked on this a lot last winter, and it was so much easier out on the golf course to get those wedge shots close. So I'd really put a big focus on learning to hit all your wedges different distances, because even having a shot that can go 50 yards with your 58 and 50 yards with your 54, for example, is really good because they're going to fly at different trajectories. So if it's really windy, it's worth going up to the 54, hitting a shot that comes in lower but goes the same distance, because you're going to be able to control the ball way more consistently in that scenario. Obviously, if it's the other way around and it's suddenly summer, it's really firm and rock hard, and we want something to stop quicker on the greens, we're going to move to that 50-yard shot with the 58. It's definitely going to help us out more. So get out and practice your wedges and work on a little wedge matrix so you have loads of ways to hit different shots, different distances, and just get the ball nearer the pin. The best players know their shot shape and they stick to it. So why is it we go out on the golf course and think when we're behind a tree we can hit a raking fade to save the day and get the ball on the green? Or we get on a hole which suddenly requires a massive draw and we think we can just whip it round the corner of a dogleg. People aren't doing that on the PGA Tour, so we really shouldn't be doing it at the weekend in the Saturday Medal when we've categorically not put the practice in that tour players have. If they're practicing every day, all hours of the day, and they're deciding not to shape shots, I don't think we should be. I was actually lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with Claude Harmon earlier in the year, and he showed me some of DJ's launch monitor data from a practice session. Now we know DJ loves to hit a fade, it's his stock shot, he hits it everywhere, and he basically never deviates from this because he knows it's the most consistent way for him to play good golf. Now when I looked at this dispersion on the iPad, there was the line down the middle of the range which he was peeling golf balls off, and every single ball was just right of target. Of about the 100 balls in this dispersion, there was 1 golf ball that had finished left of that centre line. We, categorically, are not that good. But if he can control his golf ball that well and he's not hitting different shots, we need to just really appreciate that and learn that we need to develop our own stock shots and then stick to them consistently. And I think when people think of stock shots, they just think of that off the tee. But I think this should really apply everywhere. We should have a stock chip and run that we can hit, a stock high chip shot that we can hit, a stock iron and driver shot, even like a stock fairway wood shot for when we're just not feeling that good and we just need to get the club on the ball and get it moving forwards. I think what you really need to focus on is learning what your shot shape is and sticking to it out on the golf course and basing your strategy and your course management around that. If you come to a hole and it's a massive right to left dogleg and you hit a fade, I would much rather you just club down and hit that shot to the corner and then go around on your next shot than try and suddenly hit a big draw and just get yourself in a bad situation behind trees, out of bounds, in bushes or worse. Because that's how we just get those big scores, those doubles, those triples that are really hard to come back from. And actually we know scratch golf is just about making those pars and being really steady. So we just need to stop being silly and pulling off shots we definitely can't hit. And the thing is, when we're doing it, we know we're not going to do it. We're just always hopeful, aren't we? So stick to that stock shot, even if it means you maybe have to be further back or you have to just chip out from behind the trees. Because actually just chipping out from the trees, getting up and down and making bogey is way better than trying to do something stupid and walking off with a triple. I do think sometimes this comes from the mindset of we're panicking, I want to shoot level par, I can't afford to make a bogey here. And we forget that actually bogeys are okay, we're going to make a couple of birdies so we can balance that out. But if we go and make a double or a triple and do that 1 or 2 times in the round, suddenly it's really hard to make 6 birdies and get back to level par. So actually sometimes the right thing to do is accept, from where I am right now, I'm probably going to make a bogey, but I'm definitely not going to bring that big score in. So be sensible, hit your stock shot, chip it out, move on, we'll bounce it out with a birdie somewhere else. I think low handicap golfers in general just have a much better vision and idea of what they're trying to achieve when they're out on the golf course. Now, if we're looking to shoot level par and hit that scratch handicap, actually what we're trying to do is play really boring golf. And I think a lot of people don't understand or accept that. Lots of times if I'm playing with new golfers, a phrase I hear all the time is, "Isn't it just really boring hitting the fairway and then the green all the time?" And I think that's kind of the point, and that's the thing people are overlooking. Everyone thinks scratch golf is really sexy and glamorous, and we're firing at pins, we're hitting 300-yard drives, we're chipping in, we're holing long putts, and that's just not the reality at all. Literally, you don't even really need to hit good shots. You just need to get the club head on the golf ball, pointing somewhere in the general direction of the hole, get the ball on the fairway, get it somewhere on or near the green, and then 2 putt. We're not going around having eagles, holing out shots, having hole-in-ones. That's not what scratch golf is at all, and sometimes it can be really hard to admit that. You know, if we actually look at the term scratch golf, what it is to shoot level par. And if you went round and had a par on every hole, actually that would be really frustrating, but that would be really amazing golf compared to the vast majority of golfers out there. So I think we just need to dial in our expectations a little bit and accept that not every shot's going to be perfect, and actually it doesn't need to be. Really, if you want to play scratch golf, you really need to learn to do the boring things well. How good is your setup? How often do you go practice? Can you hit that one stock shot that's the same shape all the time? Can you just 2-putt from 30 feet? And that's just the reality of what scratch golf is. Actually, if we want to achieve this, we need to be a bit boring, be a bit sensible, hit the right shots, and watch our scores come tumbling down.